Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Every generation faces a moment when it must decide, will we live for the comfort of now or for the greatness of tomorrow? Most people never stop to think about this question. They are too busy chasing what shines, not realizing that real gold doesn't glitter, it endures. When we are young, we are taught to dream big. But somewhere along the way, the world teaches us to dream fast. We start to believe that success must happen instantly. That if something doesn't work in 1 year, it's not worth pursuing. But this mindset kills more dreams than failure ever will. Because anything that comes quickly goes quickly. And anything that lasts takes time. Think about the tallest buildings, the strongest trees, the most admired people in history. None of them were built overnight. They took years of patience, discipline, and vision. Yet, in today's world, everyone wants to be viral, not valuable. Everyone wants followers, not foundations. Everyone wants results, but few want roots. But if you want to build something that stands the test of time, something that carries your name beyond your lifetime, you must learn to think long-term. Thinking long-term is not just a strategy, it's a mindset. It's a way of seeing the world that values process over prizes, impact over income, and contribution over competition. It's the ability to look beyond the next paycheck, the next deal, or the next applause, and instead to see what truly matters in the next 10, 20, or even 50 years. When you start thinking long-term, you realize how small the daily frustrations are. The failures, the rejections, the delays. They stop feeling like endings and start feeling like lessons. Because the long-term thinker knows that today's pain is tomorrow's wisdom. Every challenge is just another brick in the foundation of your legacy. Look around you. The world is changing faster than ever before. Technology evolves every minute. Markets rise and fall. Trends come and go. But one thing never changes. People who think long-term always outlast those who think short-term. Short-term thinkers chase money. Long-term thinkers create value. Short-term thinkers chase opportunities. Long-term thinkers create them. Short-term thinkers work for approval. Long-term thinkers work for purpose. And that's the secret. Purpose. Without purpose, you can't build a legacy. Because purpose is the fuel that keeps you moving when results are slow. It's what keeps you grounded when success comes and what lifts you up when you fall. Legacy begins not when you achieve something, but when you decide to build something that will outlive you. It's not about how famous you are. It's about how meaningful your work becomes. You can be known by millions and still leave nothing behind. But you can impact just a few lives deeply, and your legacy will ripple for generations. The truth is, anyone can make a living, but only a few can make a difference. Anyone can collect wealth, but only a few can create worth. And anyone can chase success, but only a few can build significance. To think long-term, you must learn to delay gratification. You must be willing to work hard when no one is watching, to believe in your dream when no one else does, and to stay focused even when everything around you is falling apart. It's not easy. Sometimes, people will laugh at you. They will call you unrealistic. They will tell you to be practical. But remember, what they call practical today is usually what limits their tomorrow. The world has never been changed by practical thinkers. It has always been changed by those who dared to think beyond their lifetime. The greatest regret people have is not that they failed, but that they aimed too low. They lived for survival, not for legacy. They built for comfort, not for impact. And at the end of their lives, they realize the time they spent chasing success could have been spent building significance. Thinking long-term requires faith. Faith in your vision, in your process, and in your principles. You may not see results in a month or even in a year, but the seeds you plant will eventually grow. Every step forward, every late night, every sacrifice, it all compounds. Time rewards those who respect it. And that's the beauty of legacy. It's invisible while it's being built, but undeniable when it's complete. So as you listen to these words, ask yourself, what am I building? Am I working only for the applause of today or for the appreciation of tomorrow? Am I chasing what's trending or creating what's timeless? Am I building something that ends with me or something that begins with me? You have one life, one chance to make your name mean something more than just letters. Build something that time cannot erase. Build something that speaks for you long after you are gone. Because at the end of the day, your money will fade, your fame will fade, even your achievements will fade. But your legacy will not. Legacy is the story people tell when you are no longer there to tell it yourself. So stop thinking in days and start thinking in decades. Stop chasing quick wins and start building lasting worth. Stop asking, what can I get? And start asking, what can I give? That right there is how you begin to think long term and build your legacy. You said, vision beyond the moment is what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. It is the ability to see not just what is in front of you, but what lies far ahead, beyond the noise, beyond the chaos, beyond the comfort of now. Most people see the next step. Visionaries see the entire journey. Most people think about what they can gain today. Visionaries think about what they can create tomorrow. Having vision beyond the moment means you live with a sense of direction that is not shaken by short-term failure or temporary success. You understand that both victory and defeat are just parts of the road, not the destination itself. The reason so many people never reach their full potential is because they let the present blind them. They are trapped by instant results, quick rewards, and fast validation. They want everything to happen immediately, and when it doesn't, they lose hope. But every great dream requires time. Nothing meaningful grows in a day. You cannot plant a seed and expect a tree by morning. Vision beyond the moment means you trust the process even when there are no signs of progress. It means you believe in your path when the world doubts your direction. When you have a long-term vision, you stop chasing every opportunity that appears. You become selective. You focus your energy on what aligns with your bigger purpose. You are not distracted by trends or noise because you know where you are heading. The short-term thinker is like a sailor without a compass, moving wherever the wind blows. But the long-term visionary knows his destination, even when the sea is rough. He doesn't panic when the storm comes because he understands that storms are temporary, but his mission is permanent. Vision beyond the moment requires courage. It is easy to stay in the present because it feels safe. It's easy to follow what others are doing because it looks certain. But true vision demands that you walk alone sometimes. It asks you to see what others can't see yet, to believe in what hasn't been built yet, and to act on a future that only exists in your imagination. Every person who has ever changed the world started by seeing something invisible to everyone else. They were not gifted with luck. They were driven by vision. Many people think that vision is about predicting the future. It's not. Vision is about creating the future. It's the power to take an idea that only exists in your mind and turn it into something real. It's about building something today that people will thank you for tomorrow. That's why short-term success often fades quickly. It is built on what already exists, but long-term success grows because it is built on what could exist. Vision beyond the moment is what keeps you moving when everyone else stops. It's what gives you strength when you have no results to show. When you think long-term, failure doesn't break you, it teaches you. Every rejection becomes a redirection. Every delay becomes preparation. Every mistake becomes a stepping stone. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? Because you know that the path to greatness is not a straight line. It's a journey of learning, growing, and evolving. The long-term thinker does not fear time. He uses it. He knows that time is not his enemy. It's his greatest partner. Vision beyond the moment also changes how you see success. You stop measuring success by how quickly you win and start measuring it by how deeply you build. You stop comparing your journey to others because you realize that everyone's timeline is different. The one who wins early does not always win forever. The one who builds slowly often builds something that lasts. In a world obsessed with speed, the real power lies in endurance. The people who think long-term don't get distracted by the applause of the moment. They know that short-term praise can be a trap. It can make you comfortable, it can make you proud, and it can stop you from growing. Vision beyond the moment keeps you humble because you know the journey is still long. You celebrate progress, but you never settle. You know there's always more to learn, more to give, more to create. The greatest leaders and dreamers are not those who react to the present, but those who prepare for the future. They see opportunities where others see obstacles. They look at the same problem everyone else sees, but ask a different question. Not, how do we survive this? But, how can we use this to grow? Vision is not about ignoring reality. It's about reshaping it. Having vision beyond the moment means living with patience, but not passivity. It means acting boldly today for a dream that may take decades to fulfill. It means doing the small things well, knowing they are part of something big. It means trusting that every sacrifice, every late night, every failure, every quiet moment of doubt is part of the masterpiece you are creating. When you live with vision, your life gains depth. You no longer live day to day, you live decade to decade. You stop reacting and start designing. You begin to lead your life instead of following circumstances. You start to create a story that others will read long after you are gone. Vision beyond the moment gives your life direction, meaning, and strength. It reminds you that the present is only a chapter, not the whole book. So when things get hard, remember, this moment is not the end. It is only a step. Keep your eyes on the horizon, because the future belongs to those who can see it before it arrives. Growth through failure is one of the most important lessons every dreamer must learn. Failure is not the end of the road, it is the road itself. Every person who has built something meaningful has walked through rejection, pain, and disappointment. It is impossible to create success without facing failure, just as it is impossible to climb a mountain without first struggling uphill. Failure is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It shows you what doesn't work so that you can discover what does. It humbles you when pride starts to grow, and it strengthens you when doubt begins to rise. In the beginning, failure feels painful. It shakes your confidence, it tests your belief, and it makes you question whether your dream is worth it. But as time passes, you begin to understand that failure is not punishment. It's preparation. Every mistake refines your vision. Every rejection redirects your path. Every setback builds your resilience. Without failure, you would never develop patience, creativity, or wisdom. You would never grow the character needed to handle true success. People often run from failure because they fear being judged. They worry about what others will think if they fall. But the truth is, everyone fails. The difference is that the long-term thinker sees failure as a stepping stone, while the short-term thinker sees it as a full stop. One gives up, the other grows up. The short-term thinker avoids risk to avoid pain. The long-term thinker embraces risk to gain growth. That is why, over time, one remains safe but stagnant, while the other becomes unstoppable. Failure teaches lessons that success never can. Success makes you comfortable. Failure makes you capable. Success can make you proud. Failure keeps you grounded. When you succeed, the world claps for you, but you learn nothing new. When you fail, no one claps, but you gain wisdom that lasts forever. Growth through failure is not about celebrating loss. It's about understanding its purpose. You cannot build strength without struggle. And you cannot find clarity without confusion. There will be times when failure feels like a dead end. You'll feel tired, disappointed, and ready to quit. In those moments, remember that every great story has chapters of defeat before the triumph. The difference between those who win and those who fail permanently is not talent, it's endurance. Winners are simply those who refused to stop when they fell. They used every failure as a mirror, reflecting what needed to change, and then they tried again, better and wiser. The greatest breakthroughs often come right after your greatest failures. That's because failure strips away your ego and forces you to return to your purpose. It makes you ask the hard questions. Why am I doing this? What really matters? How can I improve? These questions push you to evolve. They build mental and emotional muscles that no shortcut can replace. Failure teaches you to adapt, to innovate, to persevere. It teaches you to look for solutions where others see problems. When you fail, you are being trained to handle the weight of future success. Without that training, success can destroy you. Many people achieve quick success and lose it just as quickly because they were never tested by failure. They never learned humility, patience, or persistence. Failure gives you these qualities one lesson at a time. It prepares you to sustain success, not just reach it. It teaches you how to rebuild when things fall apart, how to stay calm under pressure, and how to believe in yourself even when no one else does. The most beautiful part of failure is that it makes you real. It removes the mask of perfection and reminds you that growth is messy. It connects you with others because everyone has failed at something. The difference is how you use that failure. You can either let it define you or refine you. If you let it define you, you stay stuck. But if you let it refine you, you become wiser, stronger, and more capable. People who think long-term see failure as part of the process. They don't try to avoid it. They expect it, learn from it, and keep moving forward. They understand that every failed attempt is one step closer to the right solution. The only true failure is quitting before you learn the lesson. Everything else is feedback. Growth through failure requires humility. You must be willing to admit that you don't know everything. You must be willing to start again from the bottom. You must be willing to feel uncomfortable. But through that discomfort, you gain something priceless: maturity. You learn how to manage your emotions, how to stay disciplined when results are slow, and how to focus on progress instead of perfection. One day when you look back, you'll realize that your failures were not the darkest parts of your journey. They were the most defining. They gave your story depth. They gave your character shape. They gave your purpose meaning. Without those moments, your success would have been shallow and forgettable. So don't curse your failures. Thank them. They are the invisible architects of your legacy. Each failure you overcome becomes a lesson that others can learn from. Each fall you recover from becomes a message of hope for someone else. And when your story is told, people won't admire you for how perfectly you succeeded. They will admire you for how powerfully you rose every time you failed. People first, profit second is one of the deepest truths about building something that lasts. Every great vision, every strong company, every meaningful legacy is built not on products or profits, but on people. The world often teaches us to chase numbers, but the real treasure in life is relationships. People are not tools for success. They are the foundation of it. You can have the best idea, the most brilliant plan, the latest technology. But without people who believe in you and work with you, it all collapses. Success is never created alone. It is built through trust, teamwork, and shared purpose. When you put people first, everything else eventually falls into place. But when you put profit first, people lose motivation, creativity dies, and culture breaks down. Profit may bring speed, but people bring sustainability. It is the human connection, the loyalty, and the shared belief that turn an idea into a movement. A business can buy workers with money, but it can only earn believers with respect. The leader who values people builds a legacy that cannot be bought or replaced. People are not resources to be used. They are partners to be empowered. Every person you meet carries dreams, fears, and potential. When you make them feel seen and valued, they give their best. When you ignore them, they give only what's required. The most successful leaders understand that their job is not just to direct people, but to develop them. They don't create followers, they create more leaders. That's what people first thinking looks like. It's about building others, even while you're building yourself. Putting people first doesn't mean you ignore profit. It means you understand that profit is the result, not the goal. When people feel valued, they naturally create more value. When they feel trusted, they innovate. When they feel inspired, they go beyond what's expected. But when they are treated as numbers or replaceable parts, they stop caring. A company, a team, or even a family grows strong only when its people feel connected to something bigger than themselves. In life and in business, people remember how you make them feel long after they forget what you achieved. The relationships you build define the reputation you leave behind. You can lose everything, money, fame, power. But if you have people who still believe in you, you can rise again. That's why the strongest currency in the world is not cash, it's trust. Trust takes years to build, seconds to break, and forever to repair. And once you understand that, you treat people with more care and patience. To put people first, you must learn to listen. Real listening is not just hearing words. It's understanding emotions. When people speak, they don't always need advice. Sometimes they just need to feel heard. Leaders who listen create loyalty because they show empathy. Empathy is what connects human beings. It's what builds unity in moments of chaos. When a leader listens, people feel safe to share ideas, take risks, and grow. And when people grow, the organization grows automatically. The short-term thinker sees people as expenses. The long-term thinker sees them as assets. The short-term thinker uses people to achieve goals. The long-term thinker achieves goals through people. One works for power, the other works for purpose. That's why the results of people first thinking last longer. They are built on relationships, not transactions. There will be moments when choosing people over profit feels difficult. Maybe you'll face pressure to make quick financial decisions that ignore your team's well-being. Maybe you'll be told that caring too much makes you weak. But kindness is not weakness, it's wisdom. People never forget those who treated them with dignity, especially when times were hard. When you take care of your people, they take care of your mission. When you stand by them in struggle, they stand by you in success. Even beyond the workplace, this principle applies to life. Every meaningful relationship, friendship, partnership, or family bond thrives when people feel valued more than results. If you chase personal gain in relationships, they collapse. But when you give, support, and uplift others, you build bonds that outlast every difficulty. It's easy to be good to people when everything is going well. But real character is shown in how you treat people when things go wrong. Do you blame them, or do you stand beside them? Do you criticize, or do you encourage? Great leaders build confidence in others, even when facing loss. They remind people of their worth when the world forgets it. The truth is, people will forget most of what you say and do, but they will never forget how you made them feel. A profit can fill your pocket, but people can fill your life with purpose. When you build others, you multiply your own success. When you help people rise, your legacy rises with them. Every person you uplift becomes a reflection of your leadership and a part of your story. So focus on building hearts, not hierarchies. Focus on trust, not control. Focus on loyalty, not fear. Because one day when your achievements fade and your titles mean nothing, the people whose lives you've touched will still carry your name with respect. And that, more than any profit, is what it means to build something that truly lasts. Purpose creates permanence because it gives meaning to everything you do. Without purpose, success feels empty and life feels directionless. Purpose is what gives energy to your dreams and stability to your journey. It's what wakes you up when things get difficult and keeps you focused when the world tries to distract you. People who live without purpose may achieve temporary success, but they rarely find fulfillment. Their achievements feel hollow because they were built on ambition, not intention. Purpose is the difference between living fast and living fulfilled. It is the invisible force that makes your actions meaningful and your impact lasting. Every person is born with potential, but potential means nothing without purpose. You can have talent, skill, and opportunity. But if you don't know why you're doing something, you will eventually lose motivation. Purpose gives direction to your energy. It transforms effort into excellence and struggle into strength. When you know your purpose, you stop asking, how long will this take? And start saying, as long as it takes. Because purpose doesn't rush. It endures. It keeps you moving when the results are invisible and the road feels endless. Many people mistake goals for purpose. Goals are things you want to achieve. Purpose is the reason you want to achieve them. Goals can change, but purpose remains. You can reach a goal and still feel unsatisfied. But when you live with purpose, even small progress feels meaningful. Purpose is not something you find in a book or a seminar. It's something you discover within yourself, often through challenges and failures. It's born from your experiences, your values, and your desire to make a difference. People with purpose see life differently. They don't chase every opportunity because they know what truly matters. They don't compare themselves with others because they understand their own mission. They don't need constant motivation because purpose itself is the fuel that drives them. When you live for purpose, success becomes a byproduct, not the goal. You focus on doing meaningful work, serving others, and growing as a person. And as a result, success follows naturally. Purpose gives you strength in moments of weakness. There will be times when you feel lost, when everything seems to fall apart. In those moments, purpose acts like a compass. It reminds you of why you started and what you're fighting for. Without purpose, you will give up easily because the pain feels meaningless. But with purpose, you endure pain because you know it's part of the process. Every challenge becomes a test of commitment rather than a reason to quit. Purpose also makes your impact permanent. Money can fade, fame can vanish, and power can be taken away, but the influence of a purpose-driven life lasts for generations. People remember those who lived with intention, who gave more than they took, who stood for something bigger than themselves. Purpose creates ripples. What you do for yourself may die with you, but what you do for others lives on. When you live with purpose, you leave behind more than memories. You leave behind meaning. The world is full of people chasing success, but starving for purpose. They work hard, achieve goals, and still feel incomplete because they built their lives around results instead of reasons. Purpose gives you peace even when you haven't reached your destination. It makes the journey worthwhile. You begin to see value in the process, not just the outcome. You start to appreciate progress, not perfection. Every day becomes significant because every action is connected to something meaningful. Living with purpose requires honesty. You must ask yourself tough questions. Why am I doing this? Who does it help? What do I want to be remembered for? These questions can be uncomfortable, but they bring clarity. Once you find your why, every how becomes easier. Obstacles turn into opportunities. Sacrifices feel lighter, and even failure becomes fuel because you know it's serving a higher mission. Purpose-driven people don't work harder than others. They work differently. Their focus is deeper, their patience stronger, and their resilience higher. They understand that purpose is not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's not about fame. It's about faithfulness to your vision. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things for the right reasons. When you live without purpose, you exist by chance. When you live with purpose, you exist by choice. You stop drifting and start designing your life. You make decisions that align with your values, not just your desires. You stop asking what is easy and start asking what is meaningful. And once you begin living this way, you realize that the true measure of a life well lived is not how long you live, but how deeply you touch others. Purpose creates permanence because it connects you to something timeless. It gives your actions weight and your story depth. It ensures that when your time ends, your influence doesn't. The world doesn't remember people for their possessions. It remembers them for their purpose. So whatever you do, do it with meaning. Let your purpose guide your work, your relationships, and your dreams. Because when you live for a purpose larger than yourself, even when you are gone, your legacy will continue to live, speak, and inspire. At the end of every journey, when the noise fades and the lights dim, What remains is not the applause or the achievements. It's the impact you've created. Life is not measured by the moments of comfort or the trophies collected, but by the lives you've touched and the dreams you've inspired. The true test of greatness is not how high you rise, but how long your influence lasts after you're gone. Legacy is not built in a day. It's built every single day through choices, values, and the courage to stay true when others drift away. When you think long-term, you stop living only for yourself. You start living for something that will outlast you. Every decision becomes part of a bigger picture. Every failure becomes a lesson, not a loss. You begin to understand that patience is not weakness, it's power. Because those who think long-term don't rush to shine, they build to last. The world often celebrates speed, but history remembers endurance. Don't just aim to make a living, aim to make a difference. Don't chase recognition, chase purpose. Recognition fades, but purpose echoes. Your legacy is not written on paper. It's written in people. It's in the hearts you uplift, the minds you awaken, and the hope you leave behind. When you act with integrity, when you build something meaningful, when you choose to lead with vision instead of fear, that's when your legacy begins to take shape. You may not see its full impact in your lifetime, but the seeds you plant today will become trees that give shade to generations you may never meet. That is the power of thinking long-term. So as you move forward, remember the world doesn't need another person who just wants to win. It needs people who want to build. Build character, build value, build change. Every great legacy began with someone who refused to quit, who kept believing when no one else did, who turned struggle into strength and doubt into direction. Be that person. Build something that time cannot destroy. Build a life that speaks louder than your words, one that continues to inspire long after your voice is silent. Because in the end, success may fade, but your legacy, if built with purpose, will never die.